Imagine sitting around a fire 10,000 years ago. The night is cold. The stars are bright. Someone throws a strange plant into the flames. A thick, bitter smoke rises into the air. Instead of moving away, one person leans in and breathes it in on purpose. Why? Why would any ancient human willingly inhale smoke? Today, smoking is linked to addiction, disease, and modern industry. But long before cigarettes, long before factories, long before cities, humans were already experimenting with smoke. The real question is not just when it started, but why. To understand this, we need to go back far before written history. Back to a time when humans lived in small tribes. Back to when fire itself was still a powerful, mysterious tool. Early humans did not smoke the way we think of it today. They did not roll paper. They did not have tobacco companies. They did not even farm. But they did have curiosity. And curiosity has always pushed humans to test the world around them. At first, smoke was simply part of survival. Fire kept predators away. It cooked meat. It gave warmth. And whenever plants were thrown into the fire, they burned. Some created thick black smoke. Some created sweet-smelling smoke. Others gave off strange effects. Imagine discovering that certain plants made you feel different. In ancient camps, people would sit near the fire for hours. Smoke constantly filled the air. Over time, someone must have noticed something unusual. Perhaps one plant made them feel calm. Another made them feel lightheaded. Another caused strange dreams. This was not planned science. It was accidental discovery. The earliest strong evidence of intentional smoking comes from the Americas. Thousands of years ago, long before Europeans arrived, indigenous people were already using tobacco. Archaeologists have found tobacco seeds and pipes that are more than 2,000 years old. But the plant itself may have been used even earlier. Tobacco is native to the Americas. It did not grow naturally in Europe, Africa, or Asia. That is very important. It means smoking tobacco likely began with Native American cultures. But when exactly? Some researchers believe humans began using wild tobacco as early as 8,000 years ago. That would place it around 6,000 BCE. At that time, humans were just beginning to farm in many parts of the world. In the Americas, people were still largely hunter-gatherers or early agricultural communities. So how did it begin? It likely started very simply. Wild tobacco plants grew naturally in certain regions. Someone may have thrown the leaves into a fire. The smoke had a strong effect. Nicotine, the active chemical in tobacco, quickly enters the bloodstream through the lungs. It can create feelings of alertness, relaxation, or mild euphoria. Imagine experiencing that for the first time in a world without modern entertainment, without artificial chemicals, without processed drinks or drugs. It must have felt powerful, even magical. And that is exactly how many ancient cultures treated it. For many Native American tribes, tobacco was not just a casual habit. It was sacred. It was used in rituals, ceremonies, and communication with the spiritual world. Smoke was seen as a bridge between humans and spirits. When smoke rose into the sky, it carried prayers with it. This idea is fascinating. Instead of seeing smoke as harmful, they saw it as holy. Pipes became important cultural objects. Some were carved from stone, others from clay. The famous peace pipe was not just a symbol. It was part of serious ceremonies. Smoking together created trust. It created bonds. It marked agreements. So smoking may have begun not as addiction, but as ritual. But tobacco was not the only plant ancient humans smoked. In different parts of the world, people experimented with many kinds of plants. In parts of Africa and Asia, cannabis was used thousands of years ago. Evidence from ancient burial sites in China suggests cannabis was burned during rituals around 2,500 years ago. The smoke likely had psychoactive effects, meaning it changed how people felt and thought. Again, we see a pattern. Humans discover that certain plants change the mind. Instead of ignoring this, they explore it. Why would they do that? Because humans are deeply curious about consciousness. We want to know what lies beyond normal waking life. Even ancient humans asked big questions. Why are we here? What happens after death? Are there spirits? Is there another world? Mind-altering plants may have felt like doors into those mysteries. Shamans, or spiritual leaders in many ancient cultures, often used smoke in ceremonies. They were believed to travel into spirit worlds. The smoke was not just physical, it was symbolic. It represented transformation. Think about how powerful that experience must have been in a world without science to explain it. If you inhale smoke and suddenly feel different, see visions, or feel connected to something larger, you might believe you are touching the divine. So, in many early societies, smoking was controlled. It was not for everyone. It was often reserved for rituals, healing ceremonies, or special leaders. But over time, things changed. As farming spread and societies became more stable, certain plants were cultivated intentionally. Tobacco became domesticated. Instead of picking wild leaves, people began growing it in larger amounts. This shift is important. When something is grown on purpose, it moves from rare to common. By the time Europeans arrived in the Americas in the late 1400s, tobacco use was already widespread among many indigenous groups. Christopher Columbus and his crew observed Native Americans smoking dried leaves rolled in plant material. They brought tobacco back to Europe, and this is when everything exploded. Europe had never seen tobacco before. At first, it was treated as medicine. In the 1500s, people believed tobacco could cure headaches, toothaches, and even plague. Doctors recommended it. Kings used it. Priests experimented with it. Smoking spread quickly across Spain, Portugal, France, and England. Within a century, tobacco was being grown in colonies, especially in North America. It became a major cash crop. Huge farms were created. Sadly, this also fueled the growth of slavery, as labor was needed to grow and harvest tobacco. What began as sacred ritual became global business. And the method of smoking evolved too. Pipes were common at first. Then cigars became popular. Cigarettes came much later, especially in the 1800s and 1900s, when machines could produce them cheaply and in massive numbers. But let's pause for a moment. Even though tobacco became global only 500 years ago, the act of inhaling smoke is much older. Humans have always lived with fire, and wherever there is fire, there is smoke. It is almost certain that